what's up, Slunts? Joker here. Today I wanted to sort of bring you guys my reaction after seeing the initial reveal for Star Wars Battlefront during the Star Wars celebration the other day. You know, we've only, up until now, we've really only seen like little snippets of footage here and there, just little clips and some stuff of them working around in the studio last year at E3, and then we just saw like one shot of speeder bike on the forest moon of Endor, and that was pretty much it. And basically, we just knew that they're working on a game. They didn't have an official release date at that time, but a lot of speculation was it was going to be out for the holiday 2015 release, and it looks like now that is definitely confirmed, as they announced it's going to be coming out November 17th later this year, so just in time for that holiday shopping rush right before Black Friday, as you would expect. Hopefully this doesn't lead to it being a rushed title, which, like we've seen in the past with games like Battlefield 4, you know, where they wanted to meet that holiday deadline and try to compete with the new Call of Duty game, or, you know, and the new Assassin's Creed game and the other annual releases. And it seems like, you know, Battlefield/Battlefront is now, you know, no different than those types of games. It looks like they want to basically have a new game coming out every year. This is kind of a topic for another video, but it just seems like, you know, they basically have everything in place now to be having an annual release cycle with studios like Visceral, DICE Stockholm, and DICE LA now all in place working on games. DICE LA is still working on Battlefield 4, and I think they're doing a great job. And I've been playing a lot of Battlefield 4 recently because Battlefield Hardline is basically dead. There are more people playing Battlefield 3 right now than Battlefield Hardline. You can go ahead and look up the stats yourself, but there are more people on BF3 than BF Hardline. So if that doesn't tell you what a colossal failure Hardline was, then, you know, I don't know what else will. But now let's shift gears back over to Battlefront, which is what this video is really all about. And the reason I sort of went off tangent there is just because of the fact they are trying to hit this deadline. You know, they're trying to get the game out in time to coincide with the release of the film, even though it isn't really a direct tie-in. We've been led to believe by some early rumors that the sort of the end of the story mode is going to lead right up to the beginning of The Force Awakens, but it's not really a direct movie tie-in. I wouldn't call this like a movie-based game by any means, because Battlefront has been its own thing for a long time, and they did it very well. You know, the original Battlefront games were very, very successful. They have a massive cult following. Even to this day, there are still people online on Steam chugging away playing Star Wars Battlefront games, even here in 2015. All these years later. So I don't really consider those in the same vein as other movie tie-in type games that are just kind of, you know, just sort of slapped together at the last minute just to cash in, you know, on that movie franchise title. But they are tying it in to come out at the same time as The Force Awakens. So that kind of worries me. That worries me as a gamer, because I don't want to see them try to rush out a product that isn't ready just to meet that deadline. I would rather wait another 6 months, year, what have you, you know, like we did with GTA 5. GTA 5, they pushed it back and they pushed it back, and yeah, it was annoying. It sucked having to wait, but it was well worth the wait because we got a great port at the end of the day, and it's a good, solid game, and I've been having an absolute blast playing GTA 5, and with the amount of fan support that is behind a game like Battlefront, I think that same level of, you know, excitement is there for Battlefront, as we've been waiting years and years and years for a new Battlefront game. And just with the fact that there's a new movie coming out and DICE is working on it with the Frostbite 3 engine, and the graphics are shaping up to be absolutely incredible, it would be a real shame if they were to mess this game up on the, you know, on the multiplayer side of things as far as netcode and all that stuff. And there's really no reason for them to do that. There's really no reason for them to mess that up, because they've come so far in the last year with Battlefield 4, with the patches that we've seen going in the CTE, and even though this is going to be a different game, it's built on the back of the same engine, and I feel like a lot of those multiplayer improvements, like netcode, hit detection, things like that, can easily transfer over into the Battlefront game without having to change too much, even though it is going to be a different game, different theme. It's going to have, you know, that third person and first person switching between, and it's definitely not going to be, at least in my opinion, I don't think it's just a reskinned Battlefield with a Star Wars coat of paint slapped on it. That's initially what I thought they were going to do, but it looks like they really are trying to go out of their way to just continue where the Battlefront franchise left off and build upon that with, you know, the amazing team they do have over at DICE, because they do turn out good quality games. You know, despite the initial launch of BF4 withstanding, they've got a good solid product, and it's still one of the best multiplayer games out there today. But now focusing back on the actual trailer that hit just a couple of days ago during the Star Wars celebration. I think a lot of people were looking forward to this, as they've been teasing it over the past few weeks. And just a couple days before the trailer was set to go up, that we were getting tweets out from some of the developers, one in particular from Daniel Kopp, who said, "And remember, yes, this is what the game looks like." He tweeted that out before the trailer even went up, sort of like anticipating that, you know, the game was going to be so mind-blowingly beautiful that people would react in this way, and justifiably so, because it does look absolutely beautiful. But it's complete horseshit, because the game does not look like that. There's no way in hell that the game is going to look the way that it does in those trailers. I believe that it's in-engine footage. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. But when you look at things like the player animations and stuff like that, there's just no way it's going to look like that. There's no way whatsoever. And even some of like the character models and the shaders and the lighting and the way all of that worked, and the foliage, the way all of that moved. If they were to have anything even close to that in-game, nobody's system would be able to run this game for years. That is how beautiful it looked. And it was about as close as you could possibly get to a CGI trailer without it being a CGI trailer. So I don't really agree with that level of dishonesty right there, saying, yes, this is actually what the game looks like. No, it's not. The game is not going to look like that. You know, you could tell me if you think I'm wrong down below, but honestly, I don't see there's any way in hell that the game is going to look exactly like it did in that trailer. That was just basically in-engine footage at the most ideal situation, you know, and doctored to make it look the best that it possibly could for this amazing trailer, because it was a great trailer. I was, you know, completely blown away by it, and we definitely were able to pick up some little tidbits of information based on seeing this trailer, you know, that, you know, we wouldn't have known prior to that. For starters, we know that now that the game is going to take place on 4 different planets, but there will be multiple multiplayer maps on each of those planets. So it's not just going to be like 4 maps. Like some people were saying, oh yeah, there's only 4 maps. No, there's 4 planets, but there's going to be different maps on each planet. And those 4 planets being Tatooine, Endor, Hoth, and Solest. And please don't tear me apart down below if I'm pronouncing that last one wrong. I'm a big Star Wars geek, but I'm not that big of a Star Wars geek. I don't read the novels. I don't read the comics. I don't know everything there is to know about Star Wars. But the last planet is Sullust, so Sullust. That's what I'm going to call it anyway. And if I'm wrong and you know the correct pronunciation, please let me know down below so that I don't continue to call it the wrong thing for the next year to come. But beyond those 4, we're also going to be seeing a free DLC, which is going to be taking place during the Battle of Jakku, which is right after the Rebel victory during the Battle of Endor, which is when Return of the Jedi basically ends. You know, Return of the Jedi ends with the Battle of Endor, and after that was the Battle of Jakku, and that's going to be a free DLC, which is going to be coming out for the game. They didn't announce whether it's going to be coming out right at launch or afterwards, but at least we know they are planning to do at least 1 free DLC. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did do the full premium package, just like they do with the Battlefield games. That wouldn't surprise me at all. We know Battlelog is going to be coming back. That's news going back a few months now. But we know Battlelog is coming back, and if it's DICE and EA, teamed up, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they're going to be using the same marketing strategies that they did with Hardline and Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3 in regards to, just the way they're going to trickle out the news over the next 6 to 7 months until the game actually comes out, and then following up after post-launch with things like premium and probably battle packs and all the things in that regard. We also did get information that the hero and villain modes were confirmed. Now, if you remember, we had a news story that I did a couple months back that was from, I believe it was makingstarwars.net, which has been a pretty reputable website when it comes to leaking rumors and stuff. And a lot of the information they gave us was pretty much spot on to what we're seeing now coming in from this trailer, as well as from some websites like IGN and PC Gamer that have actually gotten hands-on with the game for a brief period of time and saw actual in-game footage, and they were basically allowed to release some of that information to us, although I'm sure they're being a little bit hands tied behind the back, so to speak, in regards to what they can actually release with NDAs and things like that. But we know that the mode we saw in the trailer was sort of like a, I guess I wouldn't call it, it's not CGI, but it's sort of like a cutscene version of what the Walker Assault mode is going to look like, which basically involves an AT-AT Walker, and then the teams, one team is defending, one team is attacking, and you're basically trying to stop the AT-AT Walker, and it kind of sounds a little bit like a hybrid of Rush and Conquest, where you're doing objectives where you're having to interact with certain points on the map in order to achieve an objective. But you're also some parts of it where you're like sort of capturing and holding a certain point in order to finish an objective as well. So it's kind of like a combination of Rush and Conquest, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And it doesn't really surprise me at all that DICE is trying to stick with something that they know and bring in certain elements of the Battlefield game modes and just apply that into the Star Wars universe where, you know, it makes sense in regards to the whole canon of Star Wars and things like that. We also did find out that Walker Assault is going to be one of the largest game modes in the game, supporting up to 40 players, which I think might be a disappointment to some people. Initial rumors back from that same MakingStarWars.net story that I referred to, they were reporting there was going to be up to 128 players in-game, which sounded a little bit far-fetched at the time, and now we're looking at 40 players, which it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Usually as Battlefield players, we're used to 64-player map sizes. So if these maps are as big as some of the larger Battlefield maps, it's going to be, I'm curious to see how that's going to play out with just 40 people. It might not be enough players, or, it might be too, it might be too many players if the maps are really, really small. We're just going to really have to wait and see. There's also going to be other maps and modes which are going to be geared towards more close quarters combat, with supporting player counts all the way down to 8 players. So certain modes are only going to be really be designed for 8 players. Now, whether that's going to be something small like Team Deathmatch, or if they're going to actually try to work in some sort of competitive mode, because we know how well that's gone for them in the past. Right, Hardline? But hopefully all of it works. I mean, I would love to just see a good solid title come out with a good variety of game modes and maps of various sizes, large, medium, small, with a mix of aerial combat as well as on-ground combat. And they did say that some game modes are going to have a mix of that. Some game modes are going to have actual outer space dogfights where you'll be able to go up into space and have dogfights, but we don't know yet if you're going to be able to transition between those. Are you going to be able to be on the ground fighting and then hop in a TIE fighter and fly up into space to be in a dogfight? Is it going to be that level of seamless transition, or are there going to be very, very specific modes centered around, the dogfights, and specific modes centered around the more planetary combat? But that's all the information I got for you today, guys, on Star Wars Battlefront. I wish I had more to give you, but unfortunately, this is all we have at this time. And if I missed anything at all, and, please feel free to let me know down in the comments below, because there's a lot of news flowing in right now around Battlefront. Some of it's rumors, some of it's news, so it's kind of hard to know what to actually believe. But everything I gave you today here was news that is confirmed, at least from the sources that I checked on. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please stick a like on it below. It helps me out a lot. Subscribe if you're not already and you want to see more news stories like this and coverage of Battlefront as the game nears closer and closer with that November 17th release. Thanks again for watching. I'll catch you guys next time. Ta-ra!